All right, so now that we looked at moving from side control into a north-south, okay, this is the bulk of what we're going to be doing today. But it was important to show you guys how to specifically move with precision through the intermediary step from side control to a mounted situation, okay? When we're in mount, there are many things that we're going to have to focus on as far as maintaining mount. But the first thing you have to realize is just, like I always talk about, this is going to be the simple battle for inside position, okay? When my partner's down in a mounted situation, you have to understand something. That any reliable escape is going to start with one thing, okay? The only escape that doesn't start with this is those stupid escapes where people throw the legs up and try to wrap them around your body and take you backwards like this. But those aren't really reliable escapes. You just keep your elbows inside and then you can swim inside, okay? But with any reliable escape that works efficiently at the highest levels, in order for your partner to start to go into escape, she's guaranteed to have to do one thing, and that is to fight to the inside position with one of her elbows. Any reliable mount escape will always start by getting one of her elbows, or both of her elbows, inside of my knees, okay? If she cannot get an elbow inside of my knee, she will never escape, okay? You have to understand this, okay? Minus her just bridging and pushing on your chest and getting you out. That's not really a reliable escape, okay? And it uses way too much energy. I'm talking about like technical, actual escapes. She will have to get an elbow inside. When she goes to do any escape you want, go ahead. She always has to start by getting an elbow inside of my knee, okay? This is true regardless of what escape. If she cannot get her elbow inside my knee, she will not escape. So the first thing I'm looking for, first and foremost, is how can I keep my knees inside of my partner's elbows? If my partner gets one elbow inside, now I know there's only one direction she can go. It's that direction. But if she gets both elbows inside, now I know that she can fake one side, go to the other side. She can move back and forth between the two. This is no good for me, okay? So first and foremost, we're talking about mount maintenance. There's different things we can do with our hips, with our legs, with our arms. How to control a partner's arms or head. Yes, but the first thing you have to realize is that if you want to control your partner in a mounted position, just focus on keeping your knees inside of your partner's elbows. And this will make everything so much easier. Okay, so now we're going to look at some more ways that we can look to control our partner from a mounted situation with the idea of always keeping your knees inside the elbows and looking to start isolating limbs, getting the hands over the head, and then going into submissions. All right, so another control element we're going to speak about here is when to have our hips high versus our hips low. And this can be the same set with chest high and chest low. So if she's down in mount, we can have either our knees on the floor and our hips high relative to our partner's hips, or we can have our knees off the floor and our hips low relative to our partner's hips, okay? You have to understand that until you get one of your partner's arms isolated, you want to have your hips high with your chest up, looking to isolate your partner's limbs. This isn't 2001, okay? I cannot go in and just cross-face someone heavy without having control of their arms. Why? Because this facilitates a kip, okay? Now, 99% of the people in the world, 99.9% of the people in the world don't know how to do a proper kipping escape. But there's always going to be those people who do know how to do it. And when I start teaching them in my escape series, people are going to know how to do them. You cannot go forward and cross-face someone and come down heavy with chest pressure and hip pressure unless you have an arm isolated, okay? In order for my partner to kip, she needs my weight coming forwards towards the head, okay? She needs two of her hands on my hips. If I come down and I cross-face her heavy, I don't have an arm isolated, from here, the more pressure I put onto her, the further I come towards the head, the more tense I am, the easier it makes it for her to bridge to one side and start that kipping motion, okay? Doesn't matter how tight I hold her, okay? If I don't have control of one of her arms, all I'm doing is facilitating the kip. The more strength I put into this, the easier it's going to be, okay? I can come in here, I can put heavy cross face on, when I'm going to hold her, she's going to kip out every single time, okay? You have to understand that if you're leaning back towards your partner's hips and you're postured up, she cannot kip. She needs your weight going forward towards the head, not back towards the hips, okay? So you have to understand that you keep your hips up high and good posture until you can isolate one of your partner's arms. Now I can go forward, because now it's much harder, if not impossible, much harder for her to kip because she only has one hand on my hip now, okay? And if I'm smart, I'll have a knee inside the elbow so she can't even really get a hand posted on my hip properly, all right? So I never come forward and chase the head with the cross face if I do not have one of my partner's arms isolated, okay? And you have to understand this basic game here that we're playing. My partner's trying to either knee elbow escape or go into a kipping escape, all right? But if you're talking about like talented top like 0.01% of the world when escaping mount, like if you watch high level black belts escape mount, it's just like bridge pushes hard. Like there's no technique at all, okay? But someone who's actually good at escaping mount, it's the dilemma between bridging, shrimping, kipping, knee elbow escapes, and kipping escapes, okay? The further I am postured up and hips back down towards my partner's hips, the more it makes it easy for her to go into knee elbow escapes. Like so, where now she goes to bridge and she goes to shrimp, and now it makes knee elbow escapes easy, okay? But if she goes to kip from here, it's impossible. The further I go towards my partner's head, the harder it makes a knee elbow escape. So when she goes to knee elbow escape from here, it's almost impossible. But when she goes to kip, now it becomes easy. Okay? You have to understand the basic game here. I only go forward towards the head and bring my hips down low, my chest down low, once I get an arm isolated. Okay? Because now it makes the kipping much harder. Okay? Her goal is going to be to go back and forth between kipping and the elbow escaping. All right? So you have to understand this, or else you're just going to get kipped off with anyone who knows how to do a kipping escape. All right? Only chase the head once you have control of one or both of your partner's arms and you have them isolated. All right. Now that we have that in mind, we're going to go into some other control elements as far as what our foot position are and how we can place our body to further control our partner. All right. So now we're going to look at the various different feet positions we can use when we're in mount. All right. There's generally 5 major foot positions we use when we're mounting someone. All right, so she's going to be down at mount. We generally use feet together. We use feet crossed. We use grapevines. We use a long hook. And we use one knee up. All right, so whenever I'm postured up on my partner and I have high hips, I'm sitting over my partner like so, I want to look to take my 2 feet and just connect my 2 feet the best I can. Right, so just go foot to foot. Ultimately, what my partner wants to do is to fight to the inside position and open up my feet so that she can drag her knee to the inside position, reach over, and start to pull my foot to the inside. Okay? So as the best that I can, I want to always keep my feet inside of my own knees. And she wants to do the best job she can of keeping my feet outside my knees, so she can expose my ankles. Okay? If she can create ankle exposure, she can start to lock half guards on me. So when I'm postured up like so, I just want to take my 2 feet and just place them foot over foot, like so, or feet together, the best we can. Okay? I can't cross my legs from here because of my position of my hips. I can always take my 2 feet and put them together. So now when she tries to trap my ankle, she can't. There's no access to my ankles. Okay? I generally use feet crossed when I have an arm or 2 isolated, and from here, I cross my feet underneath my partner's buttocks, like so. This will do a great job of keeping a strong connection to my partner and not allowing my partner to expose my ankles. Okay, what I don't want is, for example, if I have an underhook on this side, for my feet just to be in like so, and now my partner just brings an elbow inside my knee and actually can reach over and catch. So I lock my 2 feet together so that when she goes to the elbow escape, I physically have a closed wedge around my partner's body. So now when she goes to start moving that knee out and away, it's difficult because as she goes to push my right knee out, my legs are locked. So it puts tension running through my other legs, and it pulls my ankles into one another. So it makes it harder for my partner to expose the ankle. Okay? We can use grapevines. Okay? Everyone's seen these before, where from here I just extend my legs and we go ankle to ankle. All right? These are okay, but used in the traditional sense, they're not really that great. I don't ever stay with grapevines like so. Because now if my partner just kicks one leg straight, she can beat me. And now if she puts her leg on the floor, flat on the floor, now from here I can't relock my feet underneath. And now my foot starts to drift outside my ankle, where now I'm trying to lock my legs, I can't do it. And now she can reach over and create ankle exposure. And from here, put me back into a half guard. So the traditional grapevines that you see where people lock into a grapevines and they stay there, I'm not really the biggest fan of. They can work, but against the high-level guy, they're going to strip one of them, put a leg flat on the floor, and then you're going to be caught with your foot outside of your knee. Okay, that's not really what you want. So instead, I use a different method. Instead of using just pure grapevines, I just keep my 2 feet together, and I monitor my partner's calf muscles. Okay, you see there's a very slight connection to my partner's calf muscles with the outside of my ankles here. That's all I need. I just need to monitor and gauge where my partner's legs are. Now, you can always sense when your partner's going to bridge. Whatever side your partner bridges to, I'm looking to kick out the opposite leg. If she wants to give a strong bridge over her left shoulder, the driving leg is going to be her right leg. Okay? So whenever I see someone going to give a strong bridge, left shoulder for example, I grapevine and kick the right leg out and away. So this takes away the power of the bridge. So we play here, and now when she goes to give a strong bridge, I just kick that leg out. She goes to bridge right shoulder, and I kick the leg out. Now I don't stay here because if she straightens the leg, now I get caught again with my foot outside my knee. So she goes to bridge right shoulder, I kick the left leg, and then before she can straighten her leg, I just bring my feet back into either the cross position like so, or foot to foot, and I just monitor my partner's calves. So when she goes to bridge side to side, I feel like she can never get a bridge going. This is what we're looking for. Okay? The fourth leg position we can use is a long hook. All right? Where from here, my partner gives a big bridge to one side, and I swish my leg across almost like I'm trying to lock a body triangle. Okay? So for example, if a cross takes an underhook, we have a situation like so. My partner takes her hips off the floor and gets a big bridge right shoulder. And good turn to the side like you're trying to escape. And from here, we move into a situation where I have my left leg now as a long hook. So even in the event that she does manage to free her right elbow, she cannot go into a knee elbow escape. Okay? What is the reason for that? Because of the fact that I have a long hook, she can never create ankle exposure because my ankle's on the complete opposite side of her body now. And I have a wedge behind my partner's body. So even if she gets an elbow inside my knee, when she goes to knee elbow escape, she can't shrimp away because of the fact that there's a wedge behind her hip. So I play with a long hook here where I go knee to ankle or sole to foot, depending on how big your partner is and how long your legs are. So now when she goes to scoot away from me, it's a very, very difficult thing indeed. And now from here, if she stays here, I can start creating back exposure. So after she fails, she has to bring her back to the floor, and then we can start punching in underhooks once again. Okay? And finally, this is one we looked at before, where we can put one knee up, where I feel like my partner gives such a strong bridge that a long hook isn't going to work. So if she goes to bridge, I feel like I try to bring a long hook in, hips up. I go in here, but I feel like I'm going to fall over if I stay here. Then we just move into a situation where as she goes to bridge, I just disconnect my hips and we move into a situation like so. Okay? Big strong bridge, left shoulder. We move in like so. Where now from here, we put one knee up, we put a heel on our partner's hip, and we put a wedge behind our partner's back once again. Okay? So 5 general foot positions we like to use. We generally use feet together when we're postured up like so. Okay, there's it's hard to lock your legs in any other configuration when you're sitting on your partner's hips. Our goal always is to keep our ankles inside of our knees. So if we draw a line that goes straight out from my knees here, my ankles want to be inside that line. She wants my ankles outside of that line. So she can create ankle exposure and pull my ankle in so I have to recover. Okay? Now, once I isolate one of my partner's arms, however it may be, now we can start to drop down to situations where I cross my feet. So now, even if she tries to go into a knee elbow escape, it's a very difficult thing. If my feet aren't crossed and she goes to go into a knee elbow escape, she can push my leg down very easily and create that ankle exposure. We can use grapevines. We can use them in a traditional sense against low-level people, but if you try to do this on high-level guys, one leg will straighten, come flat to the floor, and now you're trapped where you can't get your leg back underneath her leg, and she can create ankle exposure and recover. So I just play a game where I monitor and gauge my partner's legs. Whenever she goes to bridge to one side, I kick out the power leg. And now we just go right back to feet together, and we monitor the legs again. Okay? We can use a long hook where she goes to bridge strong and bring the hips. You see the hips rise, and she goes right shoulder. We can put a long hook in place like so. So that now from here, we can control our partner, and even if she frees the arm when she goes to the elbow escape, it's a very, very difficult thing from here. Okay? And finally, we see our partner give a strong bridge that is so strong that the long hook is going to get me rolled over. I just disconnect my hips altogether. And from here, we move into a situation like so. And now, even if she frees the hand, I just place my hand right here and my elbow connected to my own calf muscle. But we don't want us to be here, and then someone scoops underneath your leg, and now she can go out the back door. So I always move into a situation where I'm here. So if she does try to scoop underneath my leg, I can always lift and put my knee down to the floor, or I can intercept her with an underhook and then isolate that arm once again. Okay? So the 5 major foot positions that we use, when to use them, why to use them. All right, so now we're going to look at a simple idea. Pinning arms versus passing arms. Okay, what does that mean? What I'm trying to do when in a mounted situation is I'm either trying to pin an arm to the floor where I can then punch an underhook in and elevate it over the shoulder, or I'm looking to pass an arm across the center line and create back exposure. Okay, and if you can just work with this simple idea, everything then becomes much easier. If you have a goal and a vision of what you're trying to accomplish, where you're trying to go, everything becomes much, much easier. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this, and we're going to look at ways we can actually do this in a live situation against a talented and resisting opponent. All right, so she's going to be down in a mounted situation, and we're just going to look at real quickly pinning versus passing. Okay, I want to either pin an arm to the floor. If I can pin an arm to the floor, I'm gold, because now I'm guaranteed one of 2 things. I'm guaranteed an underhook, or I'm guaranteed back exposure. Okay, if she allows me to pin the arm and she doesn't do anything, this will always guarantee I can get an underhook, because from here, when she goes to pull the elbow down, I can always punch an underhook in place. Now I have one arm isolated. If I can pass an arm across, or if she passes an arm across, where she goes to address that grip, and now her elbow comes across the center line, now from here we can go in and start creating back exposure. Okay, so a simple dilemma game between pinning and passing. All right, now she can pass the arm, or I can pass the arm. I can pin the arm, and she can go to strip the grip, and she can pass the arm. Or, for example, I can pin the arm, I can punch an underhook up, and now from here, I can pass the arm. Or from here, I can start going in, passing the arm across, and now we can start going in and creating back exposure. Okay, so there's multiple ways of doing this, and we're going to look at that, as we proceed here. All right, but we're either looking to pin an arm down to the floor, which will give us an underhook, or pass an arm across the center line, which will give us back exposure. And if you work with these 2 simple ideas and you play them in conjunction with one another, everything becomes much easier when you're looking to attack from a mounted position. All right, now we've been talking about some of these ideas as we've been along here. Let's just put all of our goals, both from top and from bottom, all of our major goals into a little specific segment here. All right. Now, obviously, there are very specific goals from each situation, but just general goals in terms of mounting our opponent. All right. Our opponent, first and foremost, needs some kind of kazushi, which allows her to get elbows inside of my knees, okay? Which will usually start with either a bridge or a multi-directional bridge from side to side, where she bridges and gets one elbow inside, or both elbows inside, which is even better for her. Because now she can create kazushi side to side, and she can look to off-balance make, and then from there start to go into escapes, okay? So she's looking to get kazushi, which leads her to an inside elbow position, either on one side or both sides. Once she achieves inside elbow position, she's then trying to look to get my ankles outside of my knees to create some form of ankle exposure. She will usually do this with the knee elbow escape, where she looks to make space. Then from there, she pushes my ankle slightly outside my knee. She reaches over to create ankle exposure. She catches, she scoops, then she traps the knee, and now we're back in half guard. Okay? So when I'm postured up and she can knee elbow escape, that's generally what her goals are. All right? Obviously, it all starts with some kind of kazushi and not allowing me to pin hands down to the floor. If I can pin hands down to the floor, then everything becomes different. But assuming she's in a good defensive posture, kazushi, inside elbow position, ankle outside the knee to create ankle exposure, recovery back to half guard. Okay? In the event that I'm cross-facing, I don't have any control of my partner's head and arm, then our goals are going to be to get hands inside of my hips, elbows inside my knees, look to go for some kind of kazushi to get my weight moving off to one side, and then go into various kipping escapes like so. All right? My goals. First and foremost, to keep my knees inside of my partner's elbows and my ankles inside of my knees. Okay? So I can deny my partner the ability to get her elbows inside of my knees and to create ankle exposure. If I can do that, I can control my partner from mounts. Okay, you can at least control your partner. Okay? Then I'm looking to isolate my partner's arms in some way, whether it be to pin a hand to the floor or to pass an elbow across the center line. Okay? And then my entire goal, once I can, if I pass an arm across, I just take my partner's back. But once I pin an arm and get it isolated, is to drag elbows above the shoulder line, either one or two, and look to go into attacks right from there. Okay? So I'm first looking for control, denying her the ability to get elbows inside, denying her ability to create ankle exposure by getting ankles outside my knees. And then from there, it's all a matter of working hands down to the floor, isolating them over the head, or passing elbows across center line. Okay? In general, this is the game we're playing. These are the goals that we each have. All right? She's trying to achieve her goals and negate my goals. I'm trying to achieve my goals and negate her goals. Okay? If she can get her elbows inside and create ankle exposure, she's going to escape. If I can keep my knees inside, I can keep my ankles from getting exposed, I'm going to control her. If I can get her elbows over her shoulder, I'm going to submit her. If she can keep her elbows below her shoulder, I'm not going to submit her. Okay? So we're playing this game where we each have contradicting goals, and whoever achieves their goals first is going to be the one who's going to win. All right, so now we're going to be looking at our worst case scenario to our best case scenario. Worst case scenario being when someone recovers to a 3/4 mount and is about to put us back in half guard. Best case scenario being when we have two arms isolated over the head or some kind of figure 4 backhanded arm where we can create back exposure. All right, so we're going to be working through maintaining mount when our partner gets close to a recovery, and then going into control and submission elements. The closest your partner can get to a recovery from a mounted position is basically when she gets to a 3/4 mount. All right, because anything further than that, she's going to have you back in an ashigarami or back into some kind of X guard situation, leg entanglement, or just put you back into a half guard. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is our partner knee elbow escapes, creates ankle exposure, and traps us in a 3/4 mount. What should we be doing? She's going to be down. Okay. From here, she's going to look to bring an elbow inside. She knee elbow escapes. She creates ankle exposure, and she pushes me into a 3/4 mount, like so. Okay, so now I'm looking to go in and pass from here. If anything further than this, if she pushes my knee down, now I'm in a half guard. Now we're just passing the guard again. Okay, it's a completely different situation. All right, so this is pretty much the closest she can get to a recovery without actually moving to a different situation, okay? Whenever I see my partner put me into a 3/4 mount, the primary default thing you're looking to do is to sit back on top of your partner's legs, okay? Right now, your partner has two good options. Number one, she can take her right hand and she can scoop inside my leg. And now from here, she can look to use that to start splitting my legs, controlling the space between my knees and moving into deep half guard situations, okay? So if I get my legs scooped, this is no good. Number two, I don't have weight on my right knee from here. So if she pushes that right knee down, it's a pretty easy thing for her to get my knee back and trapped between her two legs. So the first thing, default, the second my partner traps that ankle, is immediately to take my leg and backstep and sit on two of my partner's legs, like so, okay? Because now when she gets to scoop my leg, obviously there's no access to it. And when she goes to push my knee down, it's a very difficult thing. My goal is to get my knee to my partner's hip and an elbow behind my partner's tailbone. What I can't have is this, because now she just shrimps away and now she brings her knees inside. So I have to control her legs, I have to put weight over her legs, weight on my knee, and a wedge behind her hips. So when she tries to complete the knee elbow escape, she can't do it, okay? My primary goal is always to get weight on the knee and to put weight over the legs to crush the legs together. If I can do that, along with wedging the hips in place to avoid her shrimping away, I'm golden. I can at least maintain the position, okay? So the second, we're in a mounted situation when our partner doesn't have, or when I don't have any upper body control. If my partner, for example, trades ankle exposure here, okay, now things can be a little bit different. I can start to pike up from here and do half guard passing, stuff like that. I can choose to go back and step over the legs. I have a few more options from here. But if I don't have control of my partner's upper body, okay, and she just goes to recover from here, the only thing you can do is cover your partner's legs. If I go forwards towards the head and I try to cross face from here, it's going to be too late. She puts an elbow inside. She has an elbow inside because she created ankle exposure. Now as I go to cross face, she just pushes the knee down, and now I'm back in half guard, okay? So my partner brings an elbow inside. She goes to start knee elbow escaping. The second I see this, I just backstep. I put weight over the legs, and I control my partner's hips down at the tailbone with my elbow. Now from here, when she goes to start knee elbow escaping, it's a very difficult thing to do. Notice here, she still has her elbow inside of my knee. What I want to look to do from here is I want to look to always get my knee connected to my partner's hip. So if my partner has poor elbow position and I can just bring my knee in, this is what I want. If I don't have my knee inside, she can use this to not scoot her hips away, but she can insert her knees by opening up my knee instead. And now from here, she can look to slide her knees in and give me issues, okay? So whenever I see she has an inside elbow position, I play a dilemma game between cross-facing, like so, where now from here I can start flattening her out and it makes it harder for her to start knee elbow escaping. If my partner allows me to cross-face, she's not going to be able to knee elbow escape because now I can flatten her out and we can start playing a game where we can go in and start separating our partner's legs and freeing our ankle. So my partner's always going to do is she's going to take this hand as an inside bicep tie and stop me from cross-facing. The second I see that, I just grab my partner's elbow, and then from here, I take the inside knee position. Now when she goes to open up my knee with that inside elbow, she no longer has the inside elbow, and she can't escape anymore, okay? So I always put a weight over the legs and bring my knee to the hip. If my partner is naive and doesn't even know what's going on with the elbow, I just put the knee in the hip. If she has the elbow inside the knee, this is no good now, because even though she can't scoot her hips away, she can open my knee and bring the knees back inside. So I always go right to the head. As I go to the head, the hand always comes up, and now I have the inside knee position. This is so subtle, but super, super important, and this is going to be the difference between maintaining the position and losing the position. I can't stress this enough. You have to have the inside knee position. Everything is a battle for inside position, okay? And now from here, we can look to go into how to actually pass back to mount from a 3/4 mount. All right, so now we're going to look at opponent recovers through a 3/4 mount and we have to look to pass back into mount. Now, there are various upper body situations we can find ourselves in. We're going to look at using a near side underhook now, okay? So we come in to a situation. Near side underhook is probably the best option for us, okay? Because of the fact that if we isolate our partner's near arm, near side underhook or double underhooks are the two best options, okay? If I find that I can get my partner's arm isolated and elevated up and over, now she has no ability to look to push on my knee or inside elbow escape with the elbow inside my knee and push my knee down and recover to a half guard. Okay, the battle is being fought in this vicinity here. Okay, my knee inside her elbow inside my knee, my hand and elbow inside her elbow, and trying to isolate the arm and elevate the arm. Okay, so I initially step back like so, and now I look to start lifting my partner's arm. Okay, right from this position, I'm going to look to immediately take my elbow inside my partner's elbow and just shoot my hand up like so, okay? There are many different ways we can pommel to an underhook on this side. We can do it like that. We can go for the crossface. We can come through, and now from here we can come underneath, and we can shoot the hand up. We can play a game where we're just hand fighting here, where my partner's moving around, going to look to pommel him. I'm hand fighting here, we're playing around, and then eventually I come through, and we punch an underhook in place. We can use the head to block my partner's head. We can punch an underhook. If my partner power props up to an elbow, we can come in and we can punch an underhook in place. Okay, so there are various ways we can get to this near side underhook here. Okay, the question is, what are we going to do and how are we going to pass after we achieve this hand positioning here? Okay, so again, we can come in, we can start playing like so. We're potentially trying to get the hand inside, and we can come through. We can use the inside bicep tie to go in and get the underhook. We can threaten a crossface. She comes up, and I just quickly open up the elbow, and then I shoot to the inside. She can go to start building up, okay, moving into here, and now we have great options. We can go to the wrist, we can start trapping, we can go to the near side underhook, we can start passing, okay? Once I get to a near side underhook, assuming I cannot get a far side underhook like so, whenever I see this, we're just going to look immediately to open up our right elbow towards our partner's shoulders. This will inherently take her elbow and her hand away from my knee, like so. Now from here, I just start driving forward so that my forehead comes to the mat, like so. And now we're essentially just half guard passing. Now I just pike up, I look to insert a butterfly hook and go into my passes. We play here, I just pike up, and now when my partner goes to move around, it's a difficult thing, and she's not supporting any of my weight. And now we can either post on the floor, we can go double underhooks, we can go over under, and then from here we just look to insert our leg as a butterfly hook, and now we come through and immediately we slap the floor, then slide our knees up to our partner's armpits so she can't go into any recoveries and expose my ankles. All right, so she goes 3/4 mount. I back step, we get into our default position like so. Okay, now from here I feel like I cannot get double unders. I'm going to look initially to go right to a near side underhook. Okay, this is probably one of the most common ways that we can look to pass our partner. So from here we come through, we look to in any of these various ways to come in, and look to fight our hand to an underhook like so. Now we just drive forward, our forehead goes to the floor, and our hips come up, like so. And now from here, my partner goes to move around. I can pass either back to side control, or if I want to, I put a butterfly hook in. I pump my legs, and then we can pass in various ways back to a mounted situation, into side control on either side. We have a lot of different options. We can go into submissions. We can do a ton of different things from here, okay? So getting to a near side underhook and looking to go into a pass. And this is so valuable because when you have a near side underhook or double underhooks, we can look to start isolating our partner's near side arm, and that makes it impossible for her to either post on the knee and push it down or push the knee out with an inside elbow. Mount our partner this time from a double underhooks. Now, let's look at the advantages of double underhooks versus just punching in a near side underhook. If you have the choice, always take the extra time to punch in a second underhook versus just using one hook or the other. Okay, and here's the reason. A near side underhook is a phenomenal tool that we can use, especially from this position, because it denies your partner the ability to take an inside elbow and post on your knee. So your partner has no more escaping power to that side because the arm is isolated. But your partner doesn't have her shoulders completely pinned because you don't have an underhook on the far side. So what that means is your partner can turn into you and start to create motion and movement and can get a little swirly from there. Okay? So what happens a lot of times is you have someone, a situation like so, the hands through, and now as you go to start driving your partner's shoulders down to the floor, you have someone who's really explosive and spastic and just intent on turning into you, and you find that as you go to drive forward, your partner's shoulder slips inside your armpit, like this, okay? And yes, there's back exposure, but you start to get into situations where you go to pass from here, and maybe your partner scoops inside your leg, like this, and then from here you go and you try to take your partner's back, and your partner turns inside you, and you start to lose control a lot of times here. Okay, so yes, there is back exposure, but if your partner turns and starts to scoop inside your legs, like you see a lot of like spazzy high-level guys do this, where they just turn aggressively to each side, and it's not technical, it's just annoying, and they're usually big and strong and explosive, so it can give you some problems. Okay, so whenever I see this, I feel like if I have a near side underhook, if I can get my partner's shoulders pinned, it's great. But if I go to drive my partner's shoulders to the floor and she scoops inside my leg, now there's no more back exposure really. And I start going in and I start losing the position here. Okay? So whenever I see I have someone who's going to look to turn into me, I just wait in this position. Okay? It's okay now to open up my right knee, because now my partner goes to pommel her elbow inside my knee. She can't do it. Okay? So I can't just lean this way because then she can just turn into me, okay? So I open up my knee. Now from here, I use my head and my ear to push my partner's top shoulder further back than her bottom shoulder, okay? The further her shoulder comes forward past her bottom shoulder, the harder it is for me to get double underhooks, okay? So I get my initial near side underhook, like so, and now from here, I push that top shoulder back. When she goes to come forwards into me now, it's a difficult thing. Now from here, I take my hand through, like so, and I just punch an inside bicep tie into place, okay? Now, my forehead goes to my partner's top shoulder. I have an inside bicep tie. When she goes to move towards me, it becomes a difficult thing to do. And now I drive that shoulder down to the floor. I can always punch 2 underhooks in place. Now that I have 2 underhooks in place, I put my forehead to the mat. And no matter how hard your partner tries to turn into you, that forearm is trapped now. And now we're going to the same passing series we just did. We now have double underhooks this time. So they come through, and we start our traditional half guard passing however we want. Okay? So this time, we get to a near side underhook first, but we find that our partner just aggressively and being very insistent on turning into me. Okay? So we get near side underhook. We feel like our partner's really crunched over in this direction. So now if I go to drive forwards, the shoulder slips and she scoops my leg and gives me issues. Whenever I see this, I just take my head in like so. When she goes to keep her shoulders forward, I just lean my weight out and over to the side. Okay? You have to understand that you're pretty stable in this position. You may not be able to push your partner's shoulders back immediately, but you have to understand that she is in a full crunch trying to keep her shoulders forward. So you just lean your weight onto your partner. I just play in here. She goes to come in. I just play a game where the second she relaxes, the shoulder drifts beyond the bottom shoulder. Now from here, I either come one, I take my elbow inside. If my partner's lazy and just stays here, I can just make a quick transition. Or if my partner has tension, where now as I go to do that, she just brings your shoulder forwards again. I miss. Then I pommel from the inside. And now we go inside bicep tie. Now when she goes to move towards me and stop me from punching the underhook in, the underhook will always come in very easily from here. Okay? And now from here, we come through. We just bring our forehead to the floor. Elbows go above the shoulder line. We put our forehead down. Hips come up. Now it's a pretty easy thing from here. You start going in, pommeling butterfly hooks in, and passing like we spoke about in the passing instructional from half guard. Okay, so we start off with a near side underhook or a far side underhook. Okay, we'll look at far side underhook next, assuming we can't get to a near side underhook. But if we can ever work to double underhooks, it's always best, okay, because that guarantees that we can isolate both of our partner's arms and pin both shoulders to the floor, regardless of how much our partner's trying to turn to one side or the other. All right, so now let's look at using a far side underhook only to pass back into a mount, whether we have a crossface or whether we're using our head as a crossface. Now, this is where everything starts to come together here. And always remember, you're fighting to get these underhooks simultaneously. Like, I'm not just fighting just for a far side underhook. I'm not fighting just for a near side underhook. I'm not fighting just for double underhooks. I'm always fighting to get one underhook at a time and then, work from there. Okay, so now we're gonna look at a situation where we have a partner in a 3/4 mount, and I feel like I just can't get to a near side underhook. She has this elbow in good position. Maybe it's not inside my knee, but I feel like she's fighting and she's doing a good job here. Whenever I see this, I just take my head and I glue it to my partner's front deltoid here. Now, from here, as she goes to come forwards into me, it makes it difficult to do. All right. From this position, we come through, we go underneath, and we punch an inside bicep tie in place. Now from here, we just slide the elbow back, and we slide the underhook into place. Okay? Now, whether or not you can get a crossface will be contingent upon your partner's ability to hand fight at this arm. Okay? What I do is I play back and forth between trying to crossface my partner and trying to double underhook my partner. Okay? So if I go up to the crossface and she blocks me, I fight back inside and I try to go double underhooks. Okay? If I get double underhooks, then I pass. If I go up to the crossface and she doesn't do anything, then I can't get double underhooks, but I can get to a crossface. Okay? And in the event that I feel like I cannot get a crossface or double underhook, then she's doing a great job pommeling your hand, then I take my head and I switch it to the other side. Okay? But assuming I can get a double underhook and pass like we just did, or if I can get to a crossface, now we can start to pass like so. Okay? From this position, you have to understand that this comes with a trade-off. Okay? Because now your partner can't turn towards you and slip the shoulder inside your armpit like she could in the previous move when we didn't have a far side underhook. But on the same token, your partner has the ability now to start pushing your knee down and start trying to recover into a half guard. Okay? So, yes, you have better control of your partner's far shoulder, you have better control of your partner's head, but you have less ability to stop her from pushing your knee down and recovering into a half guard. So I keep weight on my knee until I'm ready to pike up and bring my hips off and bring my knees off the floor. So I put a cross face in place like so, and now I look to get my partner looking away from me. From this position, when she goes to push my knee down, it's still hard but not impossible. I can't hang out here forever. Because my underhook comes up, I no longer have an elbow on my partner's tailbone, which means that if she has that inside elbow, she can easily scoot away, open up the knee, and start to bring the knees back inside. So the second I go to a crossface, I immediately pike up here. Now, when she goes to push my leg into a half guard with her hand, my knee's off the floor, so it's going to be difficult. And now from here, I play a game where I look to start passing. I can come in here, I can start bringing the knee down to the floor, I can start pommeling across, I can pommel across the side control to a shin mount, and then I can mount on the other side. There's a ton of different things I can do from here. Okay? The main thing is, we've gone over all of these in the passing series, so I'm not going to repeat them all, but I'm just showing you how to get to the initial situation where you're piked up and essentially passing half guard. Okay? So we're in a situation like so. I'm playing in here. The second I'm able to get to a crossface, I lock my hands and I immediately pike up. Okay? What I don't want is to stay here and she brings her knees back inside. So the second I'm here, I immediately pike up. So even if she goes to shove my knee into a half guard, I'm already up. Okay? And now from here we come through, we can start a butterfly hook, we can start to knee slide across, through the leg, go in and start to pass. Okay? There's a ton of different ways that we can pass from there. The main thing is getting the initial crossface and the far side underhook and going into passes. Okay, getting to the far side underhook, fighting back to double underhooks, fighting to a crossface, and then going into your passes from there. And then once you pike up, you're half guard passing. All right. I spent hours half guard passing in the passing instructional, and we're going to do another half guard study, a specific half guard study in the coming instructionals. So I'm not going to cover that too much right now, but the main thing is just getting the hand position. All right. Now in the event that we're here, and we feel like our partner's so good at hand fighting that we can get a far side underhook, but whenever we go to crossface, she raises the elbow, and whenever we go underhook, she lowers the elbow. I feel like I'm just going like this, and I can't get anything going. Whenever I see this, I just take my head, and I use my head in lieu of the crossface. Like so. So that now from here, I pike up. Now, my partner, when she goes to pommel, it's much harder because she can't see what's going on. So now from here, I can just take my hand out and away and look to pommel inside. I can either go underhook and go double underhooks and start passing from here, passing across to this side, putting a butterfly hook in and passing. Or she goes inside bicep. Or from here, I can just come in. I can look to start coming through and lifting with overhooks. Where now from here, we once again can place butterfly hooks in. And because now that we have both of our partner's elbows elevated, it's easy for us to pass from here. Okay, we can easily pass into mount and take both of our knees inside my partner's elbows the second we land. Okay, so we want to get to a crossface and underhook. We can't get to a crossface here. Whenever I see this, I just take my head from one side to the other, and then we play a hand fighting game. She's a thumb inside my bicep. This is what she wants. Okay, as she goes to play from here, she goes to keep her hand inside. It's a hard thing to do. Now when she goes to use that hand to push me away or do anything, I can always lift that arm up, and now I can play a game where I can pass, side control, mount, or what have you. Okay? So a way to use a combination now between a far side underhook with the crossface, a far side underhook with your head as a crossface, a far side underhook fighting double underhooks. Okay, there's a bunch of different ways where we can chain all of these together. All right. And finally, we're going to look at ways to mount my partner, assuming we can only get a crossface on her. First of all, I'm sorry if I'm getting sweaty here. We have to have the AC off because it interferes with the audio, and it's like 110 degrees today, so it's getting hot in here.
You should say sorry to me. What today?
I don't care about you, but sorry if I'm looking a little sweaty here. All right, so now we're going to look at remounting our partner when we just have a crossface. We have a very talented hand fighter. We can't get to underhooks. We can't get to double underhooks, near side, far side, and we're forced to work with just a crossface here. Okay, this is like the worst case scenario for us, but still we can make things happen. All right, and always remember that we're looking to fight in conjunction. We're looking to use these in conjunction with one another. Right, whether it's a crossface, we fake a crossface, go to an underhook, fake an underhook, go to a crossface, near side, far side. We're always looking to look for one of these things as we're fighting from this position. Okay, so she's going to be down. This time my partner has elbows tucked in so tight, I feel like I just can't get to any of these prime passing positions. I can't get inside my partner's elbow on either side, and I'm forced to work with just a crossface. Okay. The good news is, or the bad news is that I can't get anything that I want as far as inside elbow position here goes. Okay. The good news is that if my partner's so tight like so, it's a pretty easy thing for me to start pushing hands down or coming over the top and cross facing. Okay. When she goes to block me from a high cross face, you see how our elbows open up from here? This makes it a pretty easy thing for me to start lifting elbows and start pommeling inside. So if my partner keeps the elbows glued to the body like this, it's a pretty easy thing for me to get to a crossface. Whether I come through and just push the hands down, and then from here I crossface, or whether I just reach over and crossface like so. She has to follow my hand to some degree to stop the crossface. And the second she goes to follow my hand, like if we're hand fighting, she's going to try to stop the crossface, but also keep her elbows tight. Okay? You see how at some point I can get underneath the elbow and start lifting the elbow to punch it to the inside? Okay, so she either has to give me the underhook or she has to give me the crossface. Okay, she can't defend both. So in this case, we're going to get right to a crossface. The second we get to a crossface, I look to connect my shoulder to my partner's chin, like so. So that now I can reach through the best I can and get to my partner's rear deltoid with my middle finger. From this situation, I pull my partner towards me and I flatten her out the best I can. Now, once I flatten her out, I open up the elbow to take her arms away from my knee, like so. Okay? Now, most people from here will continue to turn into you because of the crossface pressure. If she continues to turn into me because of the crossface, or with the crossface, it's just going to make it incredibly uncomfortable for her. Most people will relinquish that top shoulder position and put their back on the floor. And now they'll turn their focus to trying to knee elbow escape on this side. Okay? From this situation, I just put my forehead down on the floor like so. This puts incredible amount of pressure on her with the crossface hand. When she goes to knee elbow escape, I still have weight over that knee. And from this position, I look to pommel a butterfly hook in place. Now, if you feel that you can pommel inside your partner's elbow with your knee, I slide up, like so, and now I pass. If you feel like your partner still has the inside elbow position, then I just pommel to side control on the opposite side. So if I feel my partner has the inside elbow, and I can only get a crossface, from here I free my leg, and now I just pommel my leg across to the far side, like so. So that now from here, I can switch to a crossface on the other side, and now I can move to a shin mount where I'm leg riding my partner like so. Or now if I can get an underhook, I can pass the side control back to this side, or I can start lifting my partner's elbows, sliding forward, and moving into a mounted situation. Okay? So this time, we feel like we cannot get an underhook, but we can get a crossface. Okay? As we get to a crossface, we look to take our chin from the shoulder, from the top shoulder to the bottom shoulder. So that we can get a deep bite around our partner's forearm and connect our chin to our partner's shoulder. Or sorry, our partner's chin to our shoulder. Now we pull our partner towards us to flatten her out. We open up the elbow, and now we drive our forehead down to the floor. From the situation, and we should take my forehead off the floor because this is a lot of crossface pressure. From the situation, from here, we look to pommel our butterfly hook in place. Okay? Now, as we go to clear our leg out, if I find that my partner's lazy with her elbow position, other one, outside, lazy with her elbow position, I just slide my knee up inside my partner's armpit, and now we can easily mount our partner from here. In the event I have a talented opponent with disciplined elbow position, if I clear everything and I go to slide up, she just knee elbow escapes and she's gone. So instead, I pommel my foot across to the other side. And now from here, we play a game where we can either pass the side control on this side, or we can stay here over our partner's legs, where we're leg riding. So now when she goes to face me and recover, it's a difficult thing to do. And now I can start playing a game where I can start going in, lifting, and then sliding from the legs up to a mounted position and going in for all of our attacks here. Okay? So that's using a crossface. Now you're using all of these in succession with one another. The goal when you're fighting from this position is to not allow your partner to get an inside elbow relative to your knee, or to post the hand on your knee and push your knee back within her legs, in between her legs. Okay? So when she's laying down, just a little recap here. We put weight over the knee, and we get the knee to the inside position relative to her elbow. All right? From here, there's no one set thing that you're looking for at once. Okay? Yes, I taught near side first, I taught double underhook second, I taught far side underhook third, but those aren't, you're not looking for one more than the other. Okay? All three are very good. All three have pluses and minuses. Okay? What you're looking for is just to incrementally fight to the inside position. All right? So as she goes to fight from here and recover, I'm looking to fight too. I'm looking to play a game. Right from here, I come in, I fight, I get to the inside. And from here we can go in, we can pass. Okay? So you're not looking for one over the other. They're all very good options. The crossface is probably the least reliable because you don't have any inside position relative to your partner's arms. But near side underhook is great. Far side underhook is great. Double underhooks is great. Okay? The near side underhook gives you the advantage of denying your partner the ability to elbow escape on that side. But your partner can slip the shoulder inside your armpit and start scooping the leg and coming out the back door. When you have a far side underhook, it makes it harder for your partner to turn into you and slip the shoulder because you have control of the far arm, but easier in the elbow escape. But with the far side underhook, you can also use your face as a cross face and look to transition back to double underhooks or go over under and start passing like that. And when you're double underhooks, you have the great advantage of stopping your partner from the elbow escaping while simultaneously keeping their shoulders pinned to the floor so they can't turn into you and slip the shoulder. But it comes at the price of the fact that your base is more narrow. Okay? When you have one underhook on either side, that means you have a post hand out to the other side. Okay? Which means that your base of support is much wider. So if someone bridges to the given side of your post hand, you have a much wider base of support and it's harder for them to take you over. Whereas you have double underhooks, yes, they can't bridge, or yes, they can't slip the shoulder, yes, they can't knee elbow escape as effectively, but if they bridge to one side, your base of support is much narrower, much more narrow. It's from one elbow to the other. Okay, so if they go to bridge and they bridge you over, you have less base of support. Whereas if you have one underhook here and a far base, now the base of support is from the elbow to the outside of the hand. Whereas from here, it's just elbow to elbow. Same thing here. Okay, so with the double underhooks, yes, you control both shoulders. Your partner can't slip the shoulder. Your partner can't recover with a knee elbow. But if your explosive person bridges, you have much weaker base of support. Okay, so there's pros and cons to every single one of them. And with the crossface, you have a strong ability to control your partner's head, but you don't have any upper body inside position relative to your partner's arms. So your partner can slip the shoulder. If the crossface slips too high, your partner can knee elbow escape. There's things that she can do from here. All right, so there's pros and cons to every single one of them. Every one is good. And the crossface is good, but not great. Right? If you can get to some kind of underhook on one side or the other, and then work from there.